Squid Game on Netflix is on track to be the most viewed show on Netflix in the history of Netflix. What the? Like, I was really shocked to hear that. It just blew my mind. Like, to the most viewed show of all. What about Bird Box? Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. What were we gonna say, Curtis?
Yeah, so it already had to be dubbed or subbed, which we can talk about in a minute.
Dubbed versus subbed.
Bum, bum, bum.
Ba-ba! There was an article. Apparently, there was some people that were bilingual that think that we're missing out.
No, I'd actually, I don't know if it's the same article, but I had seen something that said that the American dub missed a major plot point. Like, I didn't feel like a major plot point was missed, but that might be might be true. But subtitles are always a better translation of the film. You know, I watch a lot of foreign films that are weird, but the subtitle is usually the better translation.
Right. I think a purist would be like, "Oh, we don't do overdubbed. We only do subs. Overdubs are for people who can't read." We're talking about Squid Game, and there are people out there that are bilingual that speak Korean that are watching this show, and they're like, I'll read this article that I read on social media. Bilingual Korean speakers are pointing out mistranslations in English dubbed versions of the Squid Game. They may seem minor, but some argued that non-Korean speakers are missing out on the show's nuances, like the difference between a more aggressive "What are you looking at?" How it appears in subtitles, and a more dismissive "Go away," spoken in the English dub. So just little nuances on what they're saying. There was another one listed that was in a Vice article that I read, but there was other ones that said, "Hey, have a good trip. You don't have to buy me anything fancy when you're, son, when you're off on your business trip. Don't spend money on your mom." And then on the other one, it's like, it just says, "Hey, be safe. Have a good trip." You know what I mean? But some would argue it too with like overdubs. They can write more, and then on subtitles, some of the lines are coming so fast you have to shorten the subtitles sometimes.
What, the Korean audio with the English subtitles wasn't bad? It was still bad, but not as bad as the actual dub version. That's the consensus I read, and it got the point across. But I mean, I wish that they would stop worrying about cultural references. They're always like, "Oh, we're gonna change these subtitles because they're not gonna get this cultural reference. They're not gonna get this lifestyle reference." But I wish they would keep that in, because that's part of the joy of when I watch the Korean films or Hong Kong films, Chinese films.
Yeah.
You get to experience that culture, and then you figure out what they're talking about. And then if you don't know, then you look it up, right? And you get to learn something. I wish
Exactly.
they kept that stuff in.
Well, yeah, why Americanize or Canadianize the like, if I'm watching a Japanese movie and there's a Japanese culture reference, I want to see the culture. I want to read that and then be like, what does that mean, and figure it out. That's part. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go eat sushi, but I'm gonna put ketchup on it because I can't handle the sushi. You know what I mean? Like, that's like watering it down.
No, that's exactly the point. Like, for a dub or for something that, like, I watched this all on dub because I wasn't sure about it. If it's something that I'm into, like Godzilla or Japanese horror or something like that, I'm gonna watch the subtitles. But I watched a Japanese gangster movie one time, and the dub says these gangsters are going and they're gonna go get some guy, and the dub says, "Let's go show them what we're made of." That's very American. But the sub, which was apparently very much closer to the Japanese translation, was, "Let us go forth and rain down our influence upon them." And I was like, that's fucking badass.
That's way
Like,
better.
why didn't they say that? Like, why would you get rid of that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate, though, that I think it's cool that Netflix is going out of their way to put effort into doing high quality dubs on these shows. And I'm not gonna be like, I like watching Amelie or Ip Man as much as the next guy, but sometimes it's nice to watch a show and it's overdubbed and it's done well. I don't want to see crappy dubs, but if they're doing it right, and like, I almost can't tell, maybe I'm Maybe I'm a simp who
No.
needs to be who's eating a Big Mac and fries and watching my overdubbed movie. You know what I mean? But like I don't always want to read a movie. Sometimes I just want to chill out and
Well,
hang out with my dog. You
No.
you
If you're
listen
just
to
check some-
overdubs, you primitive. Do you
if you're
even
just
know how to
checking
read?
something out,
I
watch the dub, man. If you're just checking it out, watch the dub.
yeah.
If you're really
well,
into
that's
it, watch the sub.
yeah, that's exactly why like the first 5 minutes of Squid Games I watched dub first, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, now let's see what the
Mhm.
subtitles is. I'm like, okay, now I'm full on the subtitles because this is intriguing.
I
I'm
remember
not like a film snob where it's like, oh, it's subtitles or nothing. No,
I remember when
I'm the
I
same
was
way, and
5 and I
50 doesn't.
couldn't read either when I was 5.
I feel sad for the person that translated these subtitles on Netflix because they're taking all the heat right now. And their name, if you watch to the end, it's like subtitled by I can't remember the name, but they're credited. So I wonder how this person feels. Like I just did the
Well, is
best
it
I could. I only had 2 days and
Yeah.
wanted to get this out fast.
was it the subs or the dubs? I heard the dubs was getting all the flack. I didn't hear anything bad
The
about the
dubs
subs yet.
get well, even the subtitles too. They said that
Oh,
the dubs were absolutely horrible and the subtitles weren't as bad, but they're still atrocious.
but
That's an exact
dubs are always going to be
quote last night.
culturalized. It's just
Yeah.
like we were talking about earlier. It's just they're always going to be.
Yeah.
It's just that's how it is.
And the subs that are off, it's because the dialogue coming so fast. They're like, we're just going to give them the condensed version so that people don't have to read as much.
But I wonder how bad it is. Sometimes it can be very bad. Sometimes it basically changes the plot or like changes a character. So I'm not saying that anybody's wrong by any means. But I don't know Korean, so I don't know how much of an influence it was. But sometimes it's like not as egregious as it could be or as
I
it seems
think
to be.
you know what? I think ignorance is bliss. If the guy, if you're watching this show
You're right. Yeah.
and you get the
If you enjoyed it, yeah.
you had a
like,
good time and you see get the basic idea, maybe you miss out on a little bit of the nuance, but it's also like, I mean, it's kind of like when I watch Spanish shows, I understand pretty much what's going on, but I'm not getting all the nuance. You have to infer a little bit. So it's kind of that situation. Like my
that's a good
grandmother,
way of relating it. That's a
yeah,
very good way of
yeah,
relating it.
my grandmother did speak English, like and like I speak Spanish. It's a little broken here and there, and I have a few vocabulary words, more vocabulary words that when I hear them, I know exactly what it is. But if I have to recall it and tell you right now,
Fade
then
it back in,
yeah. But if somebody's speaking Spanish to me, I know what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was watching an El Chapo show on Netflix, you know what I mean, and I watched
Mm-hmm.
it in Spanish, and I didn't always read the subtitles because I didn't need to, you know what I mean. But sometimes I might have been missing a little bit of nuance because I don't speak perfect Spanish. I feel like it's the same thing, and you know what? Somebody wants to complain about it. Cool. I think it's really mainly somebody just needs something to write an article about and wants some clicks. That's why we're talking about this now. They're like, oh, people are missing the point. Are they missing the point, or are they just missing a couple of nuances? I think they're going to live. That's just my
Well,
opinion, but I'm just saying.
no, and Spooky Bat says, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, they should do translations as close as possible to the original. That way, they can get the idea of their own of their stories. Kind of like reading a book and watching the movie. Get as much details as possible, and I agree with that. But at the same time, when they do the translations, we were talking about nuance. Sometimes, like you can do the direct translation, and it doesn't say the same thing that they're meaning to say. Or sometimes you can try to get the nuance, and it's not the same as what they were trying to say.
The-
And book to a movie is a good translate, but honestly, like a foreign film to an American film is a good way too. Like you can watch a foreign film that was turned into an American film, and it's just way different, and you can see they Americanize it. You can see the parts that they do. Um, and you can think however you think about which one's better, but like you can see the difference for sure.
We're also talking about this is a linguistics problems. Like we have different amount of characters in our alphabet. In different languages, they're put together different. They express things differently. So to just
Mhm.
be able to translate it perfectly every time, sometimes there's no words for certain things. Sometimes it's just different. High five to you guys out there translating these shows and movies. You have a hard job.
Honestly, maybe it'll change because of the success of Squid Game, but honestly, it's always an afterthought. It really is. It's just like let's hope this does well somewhere else, and they throw in the sub or the dub. It's always an afterthought. But hopefully now with Squid Game, they'll like put more into it and make them better and better and better.
It's like Diego Luna, who plays Cassian Andor on Rogue One. I saw him on Conan, and they had a whole conversation about the word fart in Spanish. Yeah, because
All
that
right.
is used. You could say, "Hey, qué pedo?" That means what fart. That also means what's up. And you can also say, puro pedo. And that means like, oh, that's bullshit. That is not accurate. That's a bunch of baloney. But that's a fart. That's pure fart. You know what I mean? There are very many different ways to use the word fart in Spanish that mean completely different things. But it's a cultural thing to where in Spanish, you understand what that means, and it has a nuance to it that just doesn't work in English. And yeah, that's a thing you have to deal with when you're translating these shows, which is hilarious.
Well,
And I encourage you to look that up. Diego Luna on Conan O'Brien talking about fart. It's actually a really fun, especially if you speak Spanish. It's really fun. So if you want to get mad and if you want to get wound up and complain about something, then sure, some of these words don't necessarily translate the same. Blah blah blah. But you know what? Bitch doesn't mean bitch.